Welcome, everyone, to another edition of Reinvention After 50, a Brand 50 podcast. I'm one of the co-founders, Robert Erie Artboard, and we have our co-contributor, Stephanie Odell, who interviewed Jeannie Ralston of NextTribe, who was a journalist and decided to do a lifestyle blog for women that are 45 and over and teaching them how to reinvent themselves. So tell us a little bit about Jeannie and what the interview is about.
Jeannie founded NextTribe in 2017 at 56. And it really is a testament to taking what you are passionate about and what fills you up and creating something from it, and creating small if that's how you want to start. And she started small with this digital lifestyle magazine and network for women over 45. And it was a very small group in the beginning. And then it grew into hosting national events. She loves to travel. So she started hosting these small little travel events for women. And then it became international, and she took them on bigger trips. And then people wanted to get together. And so she started hosting these salons with really amazing speakers just to bring women together. And so it kind of grew gradually. And that's what I love about her story is she didn't start out with this big idea. She started out with a small thing that she loved, which was writing and allowing other women to write about what was going on in their lives. And it kind of grew into this beautiful NextTribe platform and community.
And when you think about it, it really didn't take that long. She started in 2017. It's 2021 now. It's only 4 years. And what I loved about it when I was editing it is that she just started this as a journalist. She wanted to do a lifestyle magazine. And then all of a sudden she realized, no, I like connecting people and I like traveling. And then little by little, because she took the initial step to start NextTribe, she realized, I can do this. It's like she has different spokes in the wheel of her business.
Of her brand. Yeah. I mean, one of the really interesting things she did, she has connections in Hollywood, and she connected the head writer of Grace and Frankie, that show with Jane Fonda and Lily Tomlin that really focuses on older women, the opportunity to women from NextTribe to meet with her and talk about screenplays and writing and what does it take to get into Hollywood. So she really takes her connections and builds these opportunities for women that otherwise they would never realize. And some of the membership levels she has in her company, how she monetizes NextTribe is on different levels. You have that opportunity to have that exposure to the head writer. One of the big catchphrases that they use is age boldly and say yes to challenges, which women, I think as we age, sometimes need a community to help support us. And so she really offers that to women.
And when you mentioned, her message, which I totally resonate with, just start small, just start something. You're not going to have everything perfect. Your website's not going to be perfect when you first do it. If you try to make everything so perfect, you never get anything started. And by starting something, once again, we keep talking about this all the time. It takes you to different places.
Yeah.
Which is really
cool.
And
I think interesting to look at her background. She and her husband started a lavender field in Texas, and she moved to Texas with her husband and didn't want to move to Texas with her husband, but made the best of it and found a way to fill herself up and started this lavender field. And then she wrote a book about it. And then they decided to homeschool their kids, and they took their kids out of the country to do it and parlayed that experience into another book. So it's really interesting to start looking at your experiences with a different lens, and how do they translate into, is this my next journey in my life? Is this something that I could turn into a business or turn into a community? So it was inspiring to me to hear that, her background and how she parlayed that into her business.
She's all over the place. My head was spinning of all the stuff that she does. But let's go and listen to the interview now.
All right. Well, welcome. I'm Stephanie Odell with Celebrate the Gray, and I am here with Brand 50 Podcast. And I'm excited to have my next guest, Jeannie Ralston of NextTribe. She co-founded and is editor of NextTribe. And NextTribe is a digital and real life community for smart, engaged women over 45. And Jeannie and I met virtually probably about 6 months ago.
Right.
I had been following her and all the work she's doing, and she's definitely one of the OGs of the 40 plus community and positive aging movement. So wanted to hear her story, share her story, and just learn what's happening next with NextTribe. But you have a really interesting background. You started in publishing. You have worked for a lot of different magazines or journalists, and published in National Geographic, the New York Times, Kanye Nest Traveler, and many others. You're a contributor editor for Allure for 8 years, which that magazine isn't around anymore, I don't think, but
No, it is. Yeah.
Is it? Maybe I just don't, it doesn't appeal to me anymore, but I remember reading it. Ladies Home Journal for 3 years and Parenting Magazine for 8. And you were named 2019 Folio Top Women in Media honoree for your entrepreneur work. And you're very supportive of women over 40 and being entrepreneurs. And organized and spoke on a panel at South by Southwest in 2019 about the growth of women's entrepreneurs at midlife, which is the largest growing group of women.
Yes, right? It's the fastest growing. And there's a lot of good reasons for that. So
we'll talk more about that. Yeah. So you're a veteran journalist, and you decided to found NextTribe, and your tagline is Age Boldly, which I love. So fill in the gaps. I know you also have written a book.
Yes.
You did some really interesting things. You took your kids out of the country so they could be bilingual. You grew a lavender farm. I mean, you've done a lot of things.
Well, first of all, thank you so much for having me. This is a great honor. And I love that you said I was an OG. Wait till I tell my sons I'm an OG at something. No, I started, my background is magazine journalism. I lived in New York for a long time, and then I got married, and my husband was a National Geographic photographer. And so, but we lived in Texas. I moved to Texas for him, and we had quite an amazing life. Just that he is very restless, lots of ideas. And so we worked together on a lot of great projects, including our sons. But one of the things we did is we started a lavender farm, the first commercial lavender farm in Texas in the early 2000s. And then we ended up selling that, and we went to Mexico for a while, from San Miguel de Allende, because we wanted our kids to be bilingual. And then when we were ready to move back to the States, we weren't quite ready to be, in the mainstream kind of conventional life. We were still kind of wacky. And so we decided to
I like that. Still kind of wacky.
Still kind of wacky.
That's a good place to be, I think.
Yes. But so then we traveled, and we homeschooled and traveled with our boys, ended up for 3 years during middle school, which I've always said, from what I remember, nothing good happens in middle school.
Oh God, I'm with you. Middle school is just the angst for parents and kids, right?
Yes. So we missed all of that. We traveled all over the world. I mean, we'd have a base, and we'd study for our next big trip, kind of the area or whatever. And then we would take the trips. And I ended up writing a book about the lavender farm, a memoir called The Unlikely Lavender Queen, through Broadway Books at Random House. And then, no, it's a Doubleday. It was or is part of Doubleday still. And then I did a book about our traveling with our kids called The Mother of All Field Trips. And that was through She Books. And then I just became a mother of high school students. And then when the last one went off to college, I was a very active mom. And I don't think I was quite a helicopter mom, but I saw that looming if I wasn't careful. So I was always kind of like
see that looming every so often. I'm not calling. I'm just
exactly. So I was always aware, but I was very involved and just had such a great time being a mom. So when my youngest left for college, I actually went into a bit of a depression, like what now? And I had a friend who was finding herself in a similar situation where it's like, okay, what do we do now? And it's not that I haven't looked after myself and worked and everything, but it was a big part of me that was gone. So I looked around online, like what's out there for me? You know, what can I be doing? And I didn't really like what I found out online for women like me, because either it was very earnest, you know, like, or, you know, false enthusiasm, not false, but it felt cheerleading, like overly cheerleading, or it made me feel like I was on the edge of dropping off into the grave. And so I was just like, well, wait, what about a place that is like how I feel inside? Because I still feel like 28 inside. My friends and I still do all these crazy things. You know, we talk about books, and we talk about politics, and we talk about sex, and we talk about, you know, our celebrity crushes, and why we have a hair on our chin. Or, you know, and then we go to parties, and we laugh, and we drink too much, and we go on road trips. Not at the same time, those last two, but it's just I'm having as much fun, and maybe more fun, than I did in my 20s and 30s. And I didn't feel like there was anything out there that really addressed that. There's this whole chapter, this whole phase of life that's probably never existed before in human history, where women are done with their child rearing, but they're still active and healthy. And so I'm not ready. I love playing cards, but I'm not ready just to have my life revolve around a bridge club or anything like that. And I just thought there's so much, and this is the time to be just living it up and continuing to challenge yourself, and continue to make the best of, you know, take advantage of all that you know, all the experiences you've gained through this long life of yours. You've gained more experience than you even really know. And that's what I found, that most women at this point have done so much that they even forget all the things they've done. Or
the value of it.
They don't realize the value of everything. I feel like everything I've ever done in my life, there's nothing wasted. Nothing has been like stupid or a waste of time. It all has added up to what I am now and what I'm able to do.
Yeah, I agree.
So I wanted a magazine or, you know, publication that got that feeling out, and it very, in a very irreverent way. I love humor. You know, my mom always says, if you get older without a sense of humor, there's no hope for you. I mean, she's 92 and she's hilarious.
I was going to ask you if she was still alive, and she still has that attitude. What a good role model.
She's such a role model for me. It's just like, you know what, you know, you got to laugh at all this stuff that's happening at some point, or you'll go crazy. So that's why I kind of like irreverence and humor and everything. Obviously, there's plenty of topics we cover where it's not, you know, like the epidemic of suicide in women this age. Obviously, there's nothing to laugh about there. But in general, just some of the daily absurdities or indignities, those kind of things, you have to just kind of like take them and assess them and smile and nod your head. You know, this is what is happening. But the alternative, I don't want the alternative either. So
right. Well, it's also normalizing it. And when you talk about it, it takes the, what's the word I'm searching for? The uneasiness of it all, that you realize you're not alone and other people are going through this, and get over yourself, basically, a lot of the things. So,
so that's my whole feeling, is just talk about it. And I, luckily, because I was in magazine journalism, I had a lot of contacts and friends who are writers, and so I got them to start writing for me. And what I loved about that is that they were able to express some of those feelings that we all probably have inside, that maybe we haven't seen articulated, because there's not been a real avenue for that to be dealt with honestly and in a way that's easy to read and easy to access. So it was all, when I started, it was all about writing and articles, and, you know, the writing was my passion. But I since have changed, you know, as I've gone along. It became clear, I'm based in Austin, and it became clear that women needed to get together. They wanted to see each other face to face. They don't want their whole social life on a screen. And so what we did is started in Austin having get-togethers, in-person get-togethers. and happy hours and coffees and book clubs, and we'd bring in special guests and speakers. And I just realized that there was, that's so important for women our age. So I wanted to do more of that. So I started doing more of that around Austin. And at the same time, I started doing trips because that nothing's
But you like to travel, and why not travel with?
And I've been a travel writer. I've done lots of travel writing. And when I also did a lot of planning. My husband would do his geographic trips. I would help him do a lot of that planning, logistics, which is quite complicated. And then when I was doing my traveling and homeschooling with our sons, I would put together the trip, present a budget to my husband, like this is how much it's going to cost, blah, 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 blah. Just because he's feeling, and it's right, you don't want to just go and start spending because who knows what you'll end up with. So we had a budget, and I was able to, for all the trips we did, I came in at or under budget for all but one trip, and Italy blew our budget for some reason.
Well, you probably had fun. I was going to say you probably had a lot of fun.
But that kind of experience allowed me to be able to start setting up trips. And the first trip I arranged was to San Miguel de Allende in Mexico, which is where I used to live, which is one of the top tourist destinations in the world. And so I started that. The first trip was over Day of the Dead, which is a great festival there. And it's really appropriate, as I thought about it, because so many of us, unfortunately, are losing people in our lives. But the way Mexico treats death it's so different. And it's kind of cathartic if you've actually, my father passed away a week before our trip to.
Oh my gosh.
Day of that first trip in 2017. And I almost canceled, but then I remembered what better place to be on a time like this. And it was very helpful to be there. And we make the altars for our loved ones, and we talk about them, who we've lost. But then we get our faces painted, and we go out and dance and party. It's like life. I mean, it's got the whole thing, the ups and the downs, not the ups and downs, but the serious and the light and all that, the way life is. So that trip was such a great success that I started.
And how many women were on that trip?
First one was like 14. Well, it was like 12. And I don't like to go over about 14 on any of our trips, except we do a big beach retreat end of February. And that we take over the whole hotel, and it's just supreme. And the price is very reasonable, but it's 5-star quality. It's my favorite beach in the world. It's also in Mexico. Great food.
Where's that?
It's in Troncones, which is just north of Zihuatanejo and Ixtapa.
Okay.
So we've gone there 3 years, and I'm already booking for the 4th, 2022. Of course, we had to miss this year. 2020.
That sounds amazing. I need to go on that one.
Please do. I have about 3 or 4 more slots left on that.
Okay.
The other trips that I have for the fall, they're mostly sold out. Because
what a testament to you to have that kind of following. And
well, we do have a lot of repeat. I swear we have a lot of repeat travelers, or somebody who went with us to Charleston is now going with us to San Miguel, or somebody who went to the beach trip is going with us to Santa Fe. And so it really has been very rewarding to have people coming back. But
can I ask you one quick question about that? So are those women that are married, single, widowed, or everything?
Anything. It doesn't matter. And anything in any age, basically over 45. But we once had somebody brought her daughter, who was in her 30s. It was fine. She was great. But the thing that's amazing about these trips is that a lot of times people don't know, a woman doesn't know somebody, or we have people, we have people coming from all over who haven't a lot of them have never met. Some people know no one on the trip, but they gel so quickly. And I'm always amazed to see it. I see it in the first 2 days that they're coming together, and people switching places at dinners, getting to know each other. And I think it's because we're a self-selected group. If we're doing this trip, we are game. I call it yes women. We say, come on, yes, why not? Yeah, let's do it. So that really, there's that very beautiful connection very quickly. And then, by the end of the trip, we were all on a text thread together going, oh my God, I miss you.
Oh, that's fantastic. I think sometimes too, women, as we age, we think that we have our group of friends and we're afraid to get out of that group. And so to meet new people and for those people to see other things in us that we may have lost sight of.
Right.
I saw a beautiful ad about this woman finding her sparkle again. I forget what it's for. I'll have to find it and send it to you, but it's about finding herself again. And it sounds like these trips are getting in touch with parts of ourselves that we kind of closed off or we're too old or we can't do that. So this whole yes idea is so beautiful for women.
Yes. And it's true. And I believe that at this point in life, I know I have always had a lot of great girlfriends, but there's lots of transitions at this life. And so you might be moving, so you want to meet more people, or you've retired, so some of your work friends fall off, or if you divorce, you might lose, there's a lot of transition at this time. And this is more than ever is a time when you need to, I've been told from a lot of that they need help just getting out there and reconnecting and finding the like-minded women. A lot of times your girlfriends when you're a parent are kind of mothers of your friends' children or people you met through school, and that kind of fades away. So it's also a time that you want to hook up with people who have similar ideas about aging. I mean,
exactly. That's a huge part.
Yeah. If I were, if I had a friend who, luckily I don't, but if I had a friend I always had, and she started getting down about, we can't do this, or you can't, or kind of, if I saw her world
shrinking,
it would be hard to stay friends, because in my mind, my world is getting bigger.
Right.
And that seriously, it's really getting bigger, because I just think that's the way I believe it. And also I need to think that that's going to keep happening. I'm not at the point, and I don't know if I ever will be, where I'm thinking that, it's all downhill from here.
Well, I think that's why I was so wanted to talk to you and present your story, because a lot of times we need that permission or that story of the possibility, because we get so trapped up in the limitations of what aging entails. So, this whole yes idea and how powerful that can be just simply by, I deal with a lot of fashion side of things. And so having somebody put color on for the first time in 10 years because their body has changed and they don't want to, but people look at my stomach or they'll look at my arms. I've got to cover up my arms. I'm like, nobody's looking at your arms and no one's looking at your stomach. But if you put color on, they're going to look at your face and, and it just is this catalyst for change. And it's this slow yes. Okay. I'll say yes to a red tennis shoe. Yeah. Can be a huge moment in someone's life that can lead to amazing things. So it's the same with the stuff you're doing and having somebody come on a trip. That's a huge yes to somebody that can make a tremendous difference in their lives.
And the other thing that we do, so we also started this national series called the Out Loud events. And I did the first one in Austin in spring of 2018. It was getting accomplished women together, to speak, just short, like 10 to 15 minutes each, where it's women who are talking about all the possibilities of this part of life. I couldn't believe the first one was just, there was a
Who was
great
the first one? Who was the first one? I know you get big names.
Well, the first one was like in Austin. So I had Miriam Winnick, who's a very well-known writer in Austin, who had moved away. So I brought her back. Sarah Bird, a musician, a songwriter, musician I knew, who was nominated for a Grammy, Helen Darling. So they were in that first one, it wasn't necessarily big names, like household names, but it was very attractive to people to come. So then it went so well, I got so much feedback, I decided to do one in New York in the fall of 2018. And that one, I got Kathleen Kennedy Townsend, I got Judy Collins, I got Linda Roden, you might know her, she's Instagram.
Oh, yeah. Mm-hmm.
very popular, and some other, Annabelle Gurwitch. I can't remember. There were so many great names. Oh my God, it sold out like 2 weeks in advance. I would have packed more people in there, but it's physically impossible. So people ended up, everybody said, count on people not showing up, because that's what they do in New York.
Right. Well, that's what they do for everything.
And everything, but everyone came. So there was standing room only.
Wow. Good for you.
And the energy was just out of this world. And and people were like, well, why do you think it? And I'm like, well, first of all, I play really great music. So I've got soundtrack. I'm the MC, kind of try to make it fun. And I keep the talks short. So it's never like, it's like the energy keeps going. And we have a cocktail party beforehand and things like that. So music. I also think it's that feeling of this, people are talking all about me and what I'm dealing with. It's not like we're diced up, we're not like women business owners or people over 50 or, in general, or, golf players over, it's like, it's not sliced up. It is, the way it's sliced is just for us, for women at our age. And we want to be heard and understood. And the first one in New York, I have this is good, but I have a vest that I made for the Women's March. And it was before we even had a NextTribe logo, but I had somebody write on the back, "Can you see us now?" with this big fluorescent vest. And there were 10 of us in my group. We all had those. And so I wore it at time on the stage at the New York event in 2018. And I wore it over my really, nice dress. I wore this yellow thing. And I walked on stage, and I'm sure people were like, what is she wearing? And I turned around and I'm like, I just have one question. Can you see us?
Oh, I love it. Oh my God. Was it just like, I think about building a business, and it had to be one of those moments of, I can't believe I built this. I can't believe I've done this.
Yes. It was absolutely that first New York event. I was like, I couldn't believe it. I just could not believe it. And I went out to dinner with Kathleen Kennedy and took all the speakers out. And everybody was like, that was so amazing. It's great. And I got a note from Kathleen Kennedy the next day. She's like, I'm still walking on air. It was so fun and everything. And I'm like, okay. So anyway, yes.
Good for you.
Then I'm like, well, I've got to do this more often. So I started, did them in Austin, did one in LA, I did another one in New York with 200 people. Then for 2020, I had like 5 planned, of course. And then I had my trips planned. And of course, that all changed. So that's when I pivoted to virtual events, getting authors and so forth speaking. And then I did a virtual out loud, all digital in February, which I thought, it's going to be easy. Oh my God, the technology. I still can't believe that I did that, because the technology, I had help. I hired some company to host it, but I just, there were so many ways that could go wrong, and it almost did. It almost fell apart.
What a good learning curve for you, right? Like, I know some of these things, like when I became a licensed agency, I'm like, I can't do that. I don't know how to do it. It's too much. Like, I have to work with a lawyer. It's too overwhelming. And it's like, no, just pound your way through it. You can do this little steps at a time.
Little steps at a time. Actually, yes. Actually.
And ask for help.
I know. And I got, so it worked out. And now I have that, again, nothing's wasted. That's an arrow in my quiver now. We're doing it. So I'm getting ready to do my first, in October, we're going to do our first in-person Out Loud since the pandemic in Austin. I'm going to also have it available to women across the country on virtually. It won't be exactly what I was doing for our February event, but I'll use that experience to kind of make it a fun event, even if virtually fun thing to remember. So that's Wednesday, October 20th is when we're going to have that event.
And people can find that on NextTribe on your website.
Yeah, I just released a save the date flyer, and the speakers so far are Jackie Northam, who from NPR, she's an international correspondent, and Kathy Valentine, who's in the Go-Go's.
I saw you post that today. Remember the Go-Go's? Yeah. The Go-Go's, I have to tell you a funny story. I lived in Hawaii one summer, went to school. By 3 weeks in, we had dropped our classes and we were going to the beach and the bars every night. But they had an air guitar contest at a bar by the university, and we were the Go-Go's. Put our hair up in the towels, and
Oh my God, that's
I have a special place in my heart for the Go-Go's.
Go-Go's. I love them. So yeah, I'm so excited about that. And then, so I'll get that in the fall, and then in the next year, I will plan, New York, LA again. I'm looking at other cities.
San Francisco. I hope you're going to come to San Francisco.
I would love to come to San Francisco. So,
well, let's you and I collaborate on that. I can help make that happen. I want to ask you, I can just feel NextTribe is so pure of your heart. When you're on your power path, as I like to say, that you bring people to you because it's so genuine. The energy you give out when you talk about it, the work that you do behind it is so pure and comes from such a good place that.
Thank you.
So when you talk about it, you can feel that in what you've built. So I'm curious if what you built today is what you envisioned when you started this.
It's probably more than I expected. I really did. I never thought about doing events and trips, and I was just seeing it mostly as the articles, which are still very important to me. As I said at the beginning, my passion was for the writing, but it quickly changed to my passion being for the women of this age group and making it, my passion, like meeting women who need a kind of a boost.
Yeah, empowering them to think differently. Yeah,
that's become my passion. And it's more almost like I could imagine. We even toyed with it. We haven't gone through with that, but doing a whole arm that's just activism, where we are an activist arm, and we are speaking at state legislatures about unfair laws, or but it's there, it's in my mind. We did a lot last summer virtually with it, but there's so many avenues you can go at this point. The other thing that I've added that's really important to me, and I kind of feel like I need to add it to my mission is, NextTribe's mission is to inform, promote, and connect women over 45. And I want to also add somehow to open doors for them. Because I found that I actually, through my writers or just through people you meet, and you can kind of 6 degrees of separation or less, you can get in touch with some pretty impressive people. And for instance, last fall, I had a TV pitch workshop, meaning I had Marta Kaufman, who was the co-creator of Friends and Grace and Frankie, and we had done a virtual event together, and she wrote me and said, "Can I do anything else? I love what you do."
Oh, that's so nice.
And so we came up with this idea of having a workshop for women who have ideas for TV series. Anyway, it worked so well. It was 2 different days, so it was 2-part, and you had to apply to be chosen. We chose 12 women, and about 90 women applied. So we had to go through, and we picked the 12. Then people could also pay to watch the workshops, so they could learn. They weren't proposing their ideas or asking questions, but they were listening in. So, and it went so well, and I think it meant so much to the women who participated and the women who watched. They now have a relationship with Marta Kaufman.
Yeah, and validating them as having something to add to the writing world.
Yes.
That gift of collaboration. I know we talked about that when we had our first conversation, that I think as we age, we go from the competition to collaboration. And I love that you want to lift other women up and help make connections.
Yes.
It's something so beautiful to know you're part of giving someone back their power when they don't feel like they have.
Yes. And so we'll do more workshops like that. Like we did, the vice president of HarperCollins, which is a major publisher, she did a book workshop. And then we've had a short story contest. I have an idea for somebody I want to do a workshop in the fall, opening doors, because, everyone says this is a great time for reinvention. It's a great time. But a lot of times, if you don't have a door open for you a little bit, or, it's hard to figure, or where do I go with this idea? I have this idea. We'll do the business workshop, and we'll get some We have some big names lined up for hearing pitches at the end. There's a lot that I can do, or NextTribe can do for women. And we have memberships, and we started that about a year and a half ago. We have memberships. It's $39 a year. It's not a lot. And it gives you discounts on all our travel and our events. And it gives you special access. Like we have like when we did the Marta Kaufman, when we did the first virtual event with her, not the workshop, but we did a first virtual event with her about friendship, the members can join early and kind of do some private chatting with her before everybody else comes in. And then for like any of those workshops I have to choose, I give first preference to members because they're, committed to the community.
Right. How many members do you have at this point?
We have 730 members,
okay.
Paying members.
That was one of my other questions, because many of the listeners may have a great idea or they may have a passion. And how do you take it from the beginning stages to monetizing it? So
you're asking me right now.
But,
how much time do we have? No, that's so hard. But it's what I'm saying is, first of all, I think one of the main things is using your network. That your connections are everything, and it's so hard to you might even not even realize how many great connections you have, or how this person knows somebody who could. And so nurturing your network, and even people you've known from years ago. That's one of the beauty when you think about how many people we've known and worked with over the years. And I have said, as long as you weren't an asshole, you can probably call them back.
Yeah, never burn a bridge. That was one of my first bosses said, never burn a bridge because you never know when you have to cross back over that bridge.
Exactly. Or somebody who was an assistant is now the boss. Or
right.
Something.
Yeah.
So, but I think that's like the first step is to just use your contacts. And even a woman I hired to work with me at NextTribe, an editor, I'd met her at my first job, which was at McCall's magazine. If I'm sure people out there remember McCall, but we were in our 20s and we just worked well together, and we stayed in touch more or less. And then when I needed a really great editor to help me, I hired her, and it's just so that people come back in your life. And actually, tomorrow I'm going to go visit her for the weekends.
So
Janet Soroto.
How big is? How many you have employees now, or are they contract kind of people?
Now they're contract. I mean, during COVID, I had to let people go. I mean, we pivoted. Everyone was pivoting, and I had to let people go. So I've just started hiring people back. But the other thing is, I found there's a lot that I can do on my own. I didn't realize, how much I'd learned. When I first started, I was doing stuff pretty much on my own. I didn't know anything, so it was awful. And then over the years of working with great women, I've absorbed a lot. And so I'm able to do a lot. But of course, I've been hiring contractors for now, and at a point where I need to start hiring more people again. So anyway.
So what's next for NextTribe? I know you have events coming up.
I have my events, and we have the trip Santa Fe. This fall is Santa Fe, San Miguel de Allende for Day of the Dead. And then I'm doing a trip to Marfa, Texas, and Big Bend area. And if people know Marfa, Texas, I call it the most remote international arts center. It is in the West Texas, middle of nowhere. But Donald Judd is a very famous artist, and he built that into an artist center. I mean, it's just fabulous, and it's out in the desert. And so we're going there. It's a hard place to travel to if you don't know where you're going. So I know a lot of people there. I've been there many times. I set up studio tours with women there who are working artists, and that's what I try to do on all my trips is get you also exposed to women who live in this city or this area, so you can see how other women live and how they constructed their lives. So I'm doing that. Then next spring, I'll have the beach trip. Then we're going back to Charleston. And then I'm planning this fabulous trip to France, which
wow.
I mean, I have people in Paris that have the most amazing contacts for local women and local things to do. And I also have a friend whose family has a major estate in the countryside where we can stay. So I'm putting that all together. So trips, more events, more workshops, more articles. I'm sure I'm forgetting something, but.
Well, I love also you're coming up with, and you briefly mentioned this, the workshops for women to kind of pivot and figure out how to do it. So what kind of advice would you give women to get started? I know a lot of listeners have an idea, or they've reached a plateau or have a big transition in their life. And it's a scary time. So it goes back to what we were talking about, the words you put on it. I remember having a conversation with someone saying how scary it was. And I said, oh my God, how exciting it is. And how that can change your whole viewpoint of it. But, what's some advice you can give listeners?
So what I've said, and actually this was kind of the memoir I wrote called The Unlikely Lavender Queen. It was a similar topic. I mean, and it's something that I've used. It's an idea called bloom where you're planted. When I was out in the middle, remote rural Texas, and not very happy about being there after living in New York and then Austin, it took me years. I was so struggling against what I didn't like about being there. And then there was all of a sudden a shift where I realized I'm here. I'm not leaving. So what do I have to work with? What do I have to work with here? Instead of thinking of everything I didn't have. And I know it's maybe sounds a little Pollyannish, but it was a true shift in my perspective. Once that shift occurred, I was like, okay. And I did the lavender field. I started a Montessori school. I started a film society out there. I started like a speakers series at the local library. All of a sudden, I'm like, I'm just going to do it. And so I think the first step, it's just kind of what you said. The first step is a mental one. If you're trying to make a transition or reinvention or whatever, is to stop thinking of what you don't have or what you'd like to have, and take an honest look at what you do have and what you can work with. And there's usually some things that you just glazed over or taken for granted that actually can make a huge difference in going forward. And it's not something that's a pie in the sky. It's not like, oh God, I wish I had, an MBA, and I wish I had, a Jaguar. I don't know. It's just, or I wish I had the money to rent do a store or a coffee shop. Instead of like all the wishes, let's look at what you have, like what connections you have, what skills you already have, what, resources you have, and try to find that way to make those work for you. So it's much easier.
And also I think starting small, like do one thing, one thing can be amazing. And it also makes you realize this is not the one thing I want. This is not what I want to do. So it's like process of elimination.
Yes. Very good. That's a great point, because you might not, it might be, you've romanticized this idea of having a coffee shop, and then it's like, oh my God, I have to get up at 3 a.m.
No way, I'm not doing that. Well, I think the NextTribe too, the stories we have in our head are super powerful, and either they're given to us by ourselves, our friends, our family, or media and advertising. Yeah. So hearing the stories in NextTribe, reading, being, aware of what other women are doing can be powerful. So I applaud you for giving that platform for women to think about possibility and not limitations, and get out of their own head, because I think we're our own worst critics.
We are. We overthink. So commonly we're overthinking everything. I mean, and I know you can't just go off on a lark, but at some point you need to just do. And so like when I started NextTribe, I was like, didn't really feel like I knew what I was doing. But at some point, you just have to put the lights on. You turn the on switch, and just, if you wait your website or everything to be perfect, you will never get into business.
Right.
Because it's nothing that's going to be, you cannot make sure that everything is perfect. It's got to be, you got to go and learn as much as you can on the job. And that's when you'll figure out what you need and what the business needs or what the possibilities are. So I'd say, look at what you've got, resources and skills and contacts, and make a plan. But at some point, just do something that moves it forward. Gets it out of your head and moves it forward. So that's what I would say.
Great advice. Well, it's been such a pleasure to chat with you today. Let's tell people how they can find you.
At nexttribe.com. in everything that you need is there. All of our events and trips and stories and membership. And there's also a story about Stephanie and Celebrate the Gray, which we were so happy to include. And it was such a great response. That story was amazing.
Well, it was so fun to do. I so appreciate you highlighting Celebrate the Gray. And as I told you, I think we had 60 plus models, and I've hired my daughter to intern for me this summer because I couldn't keep up with the demand. So that tells you women want to be seen. Yes. They want to be heard. They want to be valued. They want to be represented. And they're willing to put themselves out there and say, this is me, these are my wrinkles. This is my gray hair. This is my body has changed, but I'm still vibrant and I still want to live a full life and be noticed and recognized and valued.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So I'm so excited that we got to collaborate on that. And I hope we can do more of that because again, for me coming into this, like you're saying, a lot of things I didn't know how to do and tried to talk myself out of them, but I finally pushed through the wall. I think it was not wanting to disappoint my kids and my husband because they'd put so much energy and belief into me, and not wanting to be in my 60s and look back and go, why didn't I just go for it? Like, what was there to lose? There was nothing to lose. Yes.
And also a friend of mine has said, there's the best two times to start a business is when you're in your 20s and when you're in your 50s, because in your 20s, you don't have anything to lose, and when you're 50s, you don't have anything to prove.
Yeah, I like that. Well, you're also on Instagram, Facebook too?
Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, Twitter, sort of.
Getting there.
Yeah, you can't do all
do everything.
There's too
TikTok?
much.
Are you on TikTok yet?
No, TikTok.
Okay, staying away from TikTok. Well, it's been such a joy to talk to you and share your story. And I hope that other women have been inspired to just take the first step and call upon your friends and your resources. They're out there. They want to help you. I love when I get a call from somebody. Can you connect me here? I'm like, yes, of course.
Women like to do that for each other. And if they don't, then if they're not the type to do that, put them aside.
Goodbye. All right, fine. Be on your way.
Yeah. Oh. So, thank you so much.
Oh, thank you so much. It's been so fun talking to you, and have a great day and be safe. And we'll look forward to your events. I hope you'll post all that. I hope to make it to one of those in the near future.
Oh, I would love it. I would love it. So we could do something where we have some of your models or something. Just at one of the events, and they're the models are helping to serve or something.
Oh, just to see model. I think it's the visual of seeing a mature woman, an older woman in modern clothing starts to rewrite what you think you're allowed to wear.
Yes.
Oh, I'm too old for that. No, you're not. I mean, this woman I talked to yesterday that's 82, that she has great fashion. And she's like, I'm comfortable. I wear what I'm comfortable in, and I don't care if people think I'm too old to wear it.
Exactly. And we just had a story about, don't tell me what's age appropriate,
Across the board, fashion, speech, everything.
Yes.
Let's get rid of that word. So, thank you so much, Jeannie.
Thank you.
As always.
I appreciate it. Thanks for waiting for me to freshen up. So.
Well, you looked beautiful.
Thanks. And you too. Definitely. Take
Have
care.
A good day.
Have a good weekend. Bye-bye.
We hope you enjoyed this podcast. For more information on all of our guests, go to brand50.com, where you'll find show notes and other resources to help guide you through the next exciting phase of your life. Please consider subscribing to our podcast on iTunes, along with other platforms, and write us a review while you're there. You can also sign up for our email list on our site to get the latest podcast updates. We promise you won't get a constant barrage of emails from us, and you can bet we'll protect your privacy as well. You can also follow us on social media accounts listed on our site. Thank you for listening.